Hi, and welcome to this webinar introducing Invitbox, Accounts Payable Processing Made Simple. My name is Chris Gregg. I head up the sales team here at Invitbox in Sydney, Surrey Hills. I'm going to be taking you through the next 25 minutes and showing you the main features and benefits of our Accounts Payable suite in Invitbox. So what we'll do is we'll spend 10 minutes just talking through sort of the main benefits and things like that, and then I'll actually delve into a live demo of the product for about 10-15 minutes and actually show you the various workflows and different features in action. So as mentioned, Invitbox's slogan or catchphrase is Accounts Payable Processing Made Simple, and that's what we aim to do. We aim to take all the hassle out of the accounts payable process. The system is 100% cloud. You can access it from multiple devices. All you need is internet access. As long as you have a connection and a browser, you can access your Invitbox from anywhere. Obviously you're accessing real-time information all from one central database, so if you have multiple people accessing the system at once, they're all accessing the same data. So all of your usual cloud features apply to Invitbox. As mentioned, we're based here in Sydney, in Surrey Hills. The company started approximately 3 years ago, around 2011, and we've been going, as I say, for 3 years, but the product has been in the market for about 18 months. We've experienced some tremendous growth, constantly updating Invitbox. So what you'll notice is every 2 to 3 weeks we do a software release with lots of great new features and improvements, and obviously being a cloud product, those releases and those improvements just automatically appear. So as soon as we release, when you log in the next day or whatever, you'll see all the new features, and you can access the list of upgrades from our website. So in Invitbox, there's no upfront fees. Every account with us gets a 30-day free trial, and that's no obligation, so you don't have to give across any credit card details, etc. If after the 30 days, for any unknown reason that you think you don't want to go ahead with the product, that's fine. You just stop using, no one will bother you again. Our product was developed with some of the top accountancy firms in Australia, and also in conjunction with the ATOs, so we are 100% tax office compliant solution. And over the years we have developed many API links as well as default export formats for the vast majority of Australia and New Zealand's major accountancy softwares. So if you're working with a cloud system, or Invitbox can talk to that cloud system via the API, and your data will appear via a one-click process. If you're working on a desktop system, Invitbox can link to that desktop system via an export and import of a CSV document or a QUIF file. For a full list to see if your particular software is facilitated by Invitbox, please visit the website www.invitbox.com and go to the accountancy software section, and you'll see a full list of the softwares that we connect to. So whenever I describe Invitbox to people, I'd like to break it down into 4 main sections, because we have 4 main, really the main core benefits of the system. So the first one is an online mailbox, so we receive bills directly into the system. We then have a data extraction suite, which strips out all the data. We then present that data through an approval suite, and after the detail has been sent through to the accountancy softwares and or the inventory systems, if you run an external inventory system, we file all that information for 7 years in the online filing cabinet. Okay, so I'm just going to go through in a little bit more detail each of those individual sections. So the first main feature that we referred to there was the online mailbox. So when we set out to build Invitbox, we looked at the entire accounts payable process, and we tried to work out where we could cut out as much hassle and as much cost as possible. And the first thing we realised that was anything that was in the market prior to Invitbox that wanted to achieve a paperless office solution usually began with paper. So you would gather up your invoices, you would scan those through a scanner to create a digital document and store that online in a shared folder, or perhaps send that into directly into a system to manage through a workflow. So we realised that, well, in most scenarios you don't actually need to begin with paper. Obviously in this day and age, the vast majority of suppliers are using software systems that have the ability to send invoices automatically via email when they're created. So quite simply, as an Invitbox user, you get an @invitbox.com email address for your business, and your supply chain simply automatically sends their bills or their invoices through to that address upon creation. Simple as that. When the user logs into Invitbox, they will see the bill. It arrives in real time. Now, once we actually receive those bills, we then do some pretty cool stuff. So within milliseconds of receiving the bill invoice, we do a number of things. First of all, extracting all of the data, and that's line by line. So if that bill has 100 lines with product codes, descriptions, unit pricing, due dates, currencies, foreign currencies, all of that line by line full information is extracted with 100% accuracy by our system. Now, I will show you later on in the demo exactly how we do that, but it is 100% accurate and immediate once that the map has been assigned. Now again, once we strip the lines, the other things we do is detect, for example, which lines have GST on them. We then, at the end of the bill, we do a sanity check. So depending on your set tax rates, depending on your location, we'll do a check to make sure the GST charged by suppliers matches the GST that the supplier has actually charged you. We also identify if said supplier is actually registered for GST within Australia, so we have a direct link up to the Australian Business Registry site, and we will flag to you the GST status. And then what we then do is offer, through the sort of approvals process in our database, we offer the ability to set tax codes, set GL codes, and also set tracking categories or classes on a line-by-line basis. So the first time a particular line or product comes through the system, you may tell us this is GL code X and tracking category Y. Our system automatically starts to remember that. So the idea is that very soon, very shortly after opening an Invitbox account, when you've processed a few bills, we'll start to be able to predict what you actually want set and remember what you set the previous time. And ultimately, that the end goal is that you'll never have to select any GL codes unless it's an anomaly, which you may need to change. One other thing to note at this stage, and you'll see in the demo, is that we can then send all of these line-by-line products into external inventory systems. So if your business is retail or hospitality or any business with an external inventory system, you may be currently double data entering, one into inventory and one into accountancy. So Invitbox may be able to actually help you on both of those fronts and remove a double data entry, and that all happens for the one actual charge, so we don't double charge to send information to two sources. Lastly, there you'll see we have a price checking. If you have a set price with your supply chain, we can actually price check automatically each of those lines against the price list which you would upload from your supplier. So obviously with all of that data extraction and remembering codes, etc., it tries to save all of that time that may previously be spent keying that data into your accountancy software and coding. Now once that data is extracted and it's ready to move through the process, we provide an approvals suite that can be tailored to your specific needs. So there's a number of different ways that we tailor the approvals process. The first method is by assigning groups within the inbox. So if, for example, you have multiple approvers that only need to see certain invoices, for example, your kitchen, your bar, or your marketing manager, you can assign certain suppliers to certain groups, and that will cut down on their processing time from the in-tray. So when a user logs in, they will only see invoices relevant to them. It also adds, obviously, a little bit of security in that you will not have prying eyes seeing invoices that are not for their attention. Now, after the groups scenario is worked out, we then have up to 3 separate approvals workflows. So you can have user only. So if you want Invitbox to be dead simple, you're a relatively small business and you just want to log in, click the green button and then have the information ready to send to the accountancy software, you can select user only. Very basic. And it's a 2-click process. You can then have a dual approver status. So what that means is if you have an initial approver of the bill who may have ordered the stock or may be responsible for approving the service, They would initially approve the bill from the in tray. It then transitions through to the approve tab. This is traditionally where your accounts payable or your bookkeeper would be operating, and they would then double check the data, maybe change any coding or anything like that that would need done, and they can then send that information through to the accountancy software after approval. There is a third option. If you have a more complicated approvals process, you can actually turn on what we call executive approval, and this will add up to a further 3 approval stages needed in order for that bill to be sent through to the signed off tab, ready to go to accountancy software, and I'll show you that in action when we go through the demo. So once that approvals process has been completed and the relevant invoices or bills are in the signed off tab, ready to go, you click the button, and if it's an API accountancy software, the information arrives in the software within seconds automatically, or if it's a desktop software, our system automatically creates an export-import file format ready to be sent into your accountancy software. Once that's done, all of those invoices or bills then move through to the filing cabinet. Within the filing cabinet we store those for 7 years, and we also store a full audit trail, so anytime anyone has touched the bill or amended the bill, viewed the bill, that is all stored online for 7 years. And as you'll see in the demo, in our filing cabinet you can find any bill in a matter of seconds through our various search fields, and I'll show you those in just a moment. Okay, so let's move through now to a live demo site. So if I just go into Chrome, so you can access Invitbox from any browser. However, we do recommend Chrome as the preferred browser choice. So we go to invitbox.com and we come to the home page. Now if you're an existing user, you simply log in the top right by putting your email address and your password in, or you can log in via Google or via Intuit if you have any products with those guys and you're logged in. And what I'm going to do for now is click this red button, take a product tour, and you'll notice this brings me into a one-time only demo environment of our product. So we come to the in tray. Now there is certain parts of the admin screen that need to be set when you actually load up your account proper. You need to bring in GL codes, etc. I'm not going to go through that for the purposes of this video. Within our support section, which you can access from the home screen, there's all the information you need and help videos to guide you through that process. So this is the in tray, and I'll just explain the layout to you. So you've got 3 panels. You've got panel 1 here, which is essentially just like an inbox in tray, email in tray. You have panel 2 down below here, and if I click these little arrows, it expands and reduces the viewing panes. So you'll notice panel 2 just presents an actual image of the bill. Then you have panel 3 on the right hand side, and you'll notice panel 3 is where all of the relevant information from that bill has been extracted. So this is really the important panel where you want to check and validate that the information in here matches the information actually presented on the invoice image. Now if I just click on this top option, soft drinks company, and I'll use this example just to talk you through the various fields. So I'll just expand this for now so you can see most of the bill. Okay, so this is an invoice from soft drinks company to a customer. You'll notice the first options we have are document type, invoice, and line items. So this is a line item invoice, and you can see the document has been assigned to line item. The supplier is soft drinks company. You can notice a GL code has been assigned at the actual supplier level, as would a tracking category if applicable. And we stripped out invoice number, invoice date, due date, purchase order number, product code, product description, quantity, pricing, taxed or not taxed. All of this information has been extracted immediately with 100% accuracy by our technology. Now if I click on this view details option, you'll notice it expands panel 3. Now what we can do is change any information we wish on these actual line items. Now it's important to note you can amend any of this detail, so although we do strip it out automatically, you can, if you wish, change any of the details. So you might want to change the price for any particular reason. You can change anything and you can save it. Now you'll notice when I change that price, it it's thrown up a red box at the bottom. So I previously mentioned that we do a sanity check within Invitbox. So what we've done there is we've said these particular totals equal 196.70. However, on the invoice, we've only been charged 153.73. So we've flagged to you in this red box that you've been $42.97 out, which means you need to check. So as you're going through the system, these red boxes very quickly flag to you any occasions where you need to check any errors or any mismatches. It shouldn't happen very often because the system is 100% accurate, but there are always anomalies that appear for various reasons, and that you should always check at this stage the information to make sure it's correct. Now you'll notice as I hover over these particular boxes, it's actually telling me the price. So you'll see that box is green, and this $3.10 is green. And if I hover over this red $8.25, you can see it's telling me a price list of $8. So that very quickly shows me that I've been overcharged on that product, and then I can get back to the supplier. Now, if I just reduce that, and I'll talk you through a few more options here. So this scenario, this setup we're looking at is a dual approval setup. We've got an in tray and an approve tab. Okay, so that means there's two persons who are going to have to sign this invoice off. So from the in tray, assuming everything is correct, we can approve that invoice. Quite simply, one click and that invoice is done. So you would log in and you'd simply go through one by one, approving your invoices with one click. Now, if for any reason there's something that's amiss with the invoice, let's just assume that Wendy's Wines has overcharged us, or we didn't order this, or anything, what you would do is leave a note. Okay, and you can add the note. Important that you take note that this note section cannot be amended. Once you add a note, that is there forever. Okay. And then what you could do is you could dispute the invoice. You'll notice on the fifth tab along, we have a disputed tab, and quite simply that's a holding spot. So whilst this invoice is being disputed with the supplier, this invoice will stay here, and it means that you'll not clutter up the in tray. So this is the disputed tab. Once the supplier has sent through a credit note, or perhaps he's issued a new invoice, you can then either return the invoice to the in tray, or you can trash it. So I'm just going to return this one for now to the in tray. Okay, so let's assume we're just approving these invoices. I'll approve one more. So one thing to note before I leave this tab is this red duplicate icon. So if we detect that there are any duplicate invoices, we'll actually flag this to you in the in tray as well. So if I click on that, you'll notice it takes me through to a filing cabinet where you've got an approved and an in tray. Okay. So let's click into the Approve tab. So we'll assume that the in-tray job has been completed and the first set of approvers has approved the relevant invoices. So from here, we now are, let's imagine we're in the role of the accounts payable clerk or the bookkeeper, and we're now viewing invoices that our clients or our approvers have actually sent through. At any stage I can go more, show invoice history, and you'll see that this tells me every single time any user has done anything on this invoice, and that full audit history is saved for 7 years, meaning that our system is fully tax office compliant. As mentioned earlier, you can click View Details. So as an AP, I may want to just make sure that the coding is correct, the tracking categories, etc. As long as I'm happy, then I'm ready to sign this off. So very simply, we click Sign Off. So you'll notice within the whole workflow that so far there's been one click from the in-tray as an approver, and then a second click of the mouse from the Approve tab by the AP or the bookkeeper. So that whole AP process has been log in, one click, approver, another click, and that invoice is now ready to be sent through the accountancy software, and then will be stored for 7 years in our online filing cabinet. Now there's one other thing we'll just talk about before we move through to the filing cabinet. It's from the in-tray. We spoke earlier about the inventory, so you'll notice this inventory tab, and you'll see there's already 3 particular invoices in there. Now I'm just going to reset those for now. Deselect all 3 of those and hit Save Changes, and go back to the approved time. So if this particular invoice is an invoice of products that I want to add to my stock levels, I can quite simply go More, Add Invoice to Inventory. If I was in the in tray, I would simply click the Add to Inventory button from the actual in tray like that. And you'll notice if I go here now, those two invoices I've just selected are both sitting in the Inventory tab, ready for export. For more information on how to actually send these to external systems and for a list of systems we currently have templates set for, please refer to the support area and under Inventory. Now if I jump back to the filing cabinet, so that's great, we've done those two bills, we've sent those through to the accountancy software and they're now filed for 7 years. Now what you'll notice when I go to filing cabinet is the first option I have is what do we want to search for. So you can search for all invoices, exported invoices, invoices not yet exported. You can search by batches and also search for statements. So it's important to note an additional feature we have recently introduced is the ability to file and reconcile statements from suppliers, and I'll show you that in just a short moment. So from this filing cabinet widget on the right hand side here, you can find any bill, any invoice in a matter of seconds. So we can drill into, for example, a particular supplier, go into a particular date range if you want in terms of when it was received, when is the invoice due, purchase order numbers, a whole range of things. I'll not go through each one and show you each one being used, but I'm sure you can imagine you can find any bill in a matter of seconds. Incredibly handy. Now you'll notice then if we move along the top we have a trashed tab. Just bear in mind that if you trash any invoices or statements or unknown documents, that they live in our trash cabinet for 30 days and then they'll be deleted forever. So please bear that in mind. Don't ever delete, send anything to the trash that you think there's a possibility that you may need at a future date. Okay. Now the last section is an unknown section. This is where you actually will teach our system some rules regarding your supplier's invoices. So there's a few different documents that actually arrive here. There are supplier documents such as electronic invoices in PDF format, and these are the invoices that Invitbox can handle automatically with 100% accuracy, etc. And what you do when you receive one of those invoices is you simply do the process of find map. You search for a map, product company for example, and then you try that map, and if the data removed works, you'll add the supplier and click use map, and that will set that map for that particular supplier for every subsequent invoice. That's the setup complete. All subsequent bills just arrive in the in-tray, data extracted. Now I've obviously haven't spent too much time on that because it's quite can take a bit of time, so if you do want more information on that process, again if you go to the support section there's more detailed videos on that particular process. The other two types of documents you may receive in here would be manually scanned documents. So if you look at that on screen now, Gary's Gardening Services, we can clearly see that that is a handwritten invoice, and clearly you can see from this icon that it needs to be manually entered. So our technology is not able to automatically extract that invoice data. However, we do have this intuitive little manual entry widget on the right hand side here, where you can select a relevant supplier, type in the invoice number, date, the description from the lines, etc. And then when you save that, that moves that invoice through the in-tray to move through the same process. The last type of document you may receive in here is a statement. So quite simply, when you get a statement, you can file it. So you go More, Mark as Statement, select the relevant supplier, select the statement date, and you select the statement date range. I click OK. That statement is now filed in the filing cabinet where you can access that to check off the invoices in that particular date range very quickly and actually reconcile the statement. Okay, so a couple of last very quick things to touch on here. You'll notice there's a mailbox, so you can use Invitbox to communicate back and forth with each other. If your users send you any task requests, this is where they will be highlighted to you to action. So from the in-tray, if you wanted to send somebody a one-off request, you can send an invoice task, send that to a particular person's, and you can add a note. So please approve. Sorry, excuse my typo. Please approve this invoice. You can send that to whoever you wish, and then a little avatar will appear here in grey. Once the invoice has been approved, the avatar will turn green, and you know you're then free to move the invoice through the approval process. So from start to finish, that's Invitbox. We haven't covered absolutely everything because it's an incredibly powerful system. As I mentioned at the start, we are constantly adding new features, pretty much every 3 to 4 weeks. So for a really detailed rundown on the features and benefits of the system, please either refer to our support documentation, which has all the detail there, or please get in contact with one of the team here at Invitbox, and we'd be happy to run you through a one-on-one demo and discuss how the system may fit nicely into your particular workflow. Thank you.